Have you ever wondered what training topics are essential? Like, what safety training do you have to cover with your employees? And how often do you have to do it? Well, if you've ever had these questions, this is the video for you. Today, I'm going to show you the basic, fundamental, really just the essential safety training that every company has to do. Let's check it out. Hey, before we get to the video, I wanted to share with you a free OSHA audit checklist. You see, I don't know how you'd feel if OSHA knocked on your door right now, but I know exactly how I felt the first time it happened. I felt like I was in pretty good shape, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I wish I had a checklist of exactly what an OSHA audit looked like. So that's what I put together. I wanted to share it with you. All you have to do is go to my website, helpwithosha.com. You can click right there on the homepage and you can get your own free OSHA audit checklist. It is a great resource and it's one that I wish I had when I first went through an audit. Now, let's get to the video. Okay, so there are some essential safety trainings. There's some fundamentals, no matter what your industry is, whether you're in textiles, metalwork, pharmaceuticals, fiberglass, really whatever you do. If you're in food processing, whatever you do, if you're in manufacturing, you need these fundamental safety training topics. You got to be able to cover this with your employees. They need to be able to understand what this means. Now, the first one is PPE, personal protective equipment. It is required that you cover exactly what personal protective equipment your employees need to wear. We're going to have to do a hazard assessment. That's a complex way of saying we're going to tell our employees what PPE is required. The company has to provide it, and we got to make sure people are trained, it fits properly, it's being maintained. Really, if they have safety gear, whether it's glasses, earplugs, a respirator, fall protection, electrical safety, whatever it is, PPE has to be trained to your employees. So that's number one. Number two, we want to make sure that our employees understand fire prevention. So oftentimes this is thought of as fire extinguisher training. We need to be able to explain what to do in the event of a fire. And this goes hand in hand with emergency evacuation training. So we need to make sure our employees know what to do in the event of an emergency, where they're going to go, how the head count's going to be done, who the emergency coordinator is. The emergency evacuation training is tied to fire, but also you want to be covering what to do during severe weather, maybe what to do if there's a severe accident, what to do if there's an emergency, how we're going to handle, even something like a bomb threat or an active shooter. Security is usually involved. Again, depending on the size of your company, the number of your employees, this training could vary. But really the fundamental part is you got to be able to train your employees what the plan is if there's an emergency. Now, the fourth training, hazard communication. Hazard communication is just chemical safety. Employees need to understand what safety data sheets are, what chemicals they're working with, where they can get information on the chemicals, how to store the chemicals. So hazard communication, sometimes it's called GHS or the Global Harmonization System training. It's a complex way of saying your employees need to be trained on the chemicals they're working with. As an employer, you're required to have a chemical inventory. So you want to make sure that your employees know where to go to know what chemicals they work with. This is really important if you have corrosive chemicals that could cause eye injuries. I always make sure I cover eye washes in this as well. So that's one of the last trainings. And really, those are the core trainings. Those are the fundamental trainings that you want to cover. One other piece that I always include, and sometimes this is in the orientation or in HR training, accident response training. So what do I do if someone gets hurt? At a minimum, employees need to know all accidents are reported to their immediate supervisor. But if we have people that are trained in CPR, people that are trained in bloodborne pathogens, people that are trained in first aid. We want to be able to identify who's going to respond in the event of an accident, but then also what does the normal flow look like? And really what I mean is if I get cut, who do I tell? Well, I tell my immediate supervisor. And then from there, I got to go to a doctor, maybe get stitches. It's going to be reported to workers' comp. You want to cover all the reporting requirements with all of your employees so they understand how vital it is that they tell you if they get hurt. We want to get this stuff taken care of. The number one responsibility is taking care of the employee, but we also want to make sure that we document it correctly so we prevent a future accident. So those are the fundamental trainings. Now, if you're interested, I actually have a safety membership that covers all of these trainings. And I put it together specifically because I know this is what every company needs. It's called my e-safety membership. You can check it out online, but it includes all the trainings we just covered, along with monthly toolbox talks to cover some other common safety topics that need to be covered with employees. But these are the essential trainings that you'll need to cover. So whether you go with a safety membership or whether you go on your own, please do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe, because no one should get hurt at work.